We have beautiful weather here at Connecticut's Lime Rock Park, in the foothills of the beautiful Berkshire Mountains. And here at Lime Rock, Bill, even though we have great conditions, it's a racetrack that can produce surprises.
There were a lot of tracks that opened in the 1950s. Didn't matter whether it was Europe. Obviously, we're coming out of the Second World War. I've driven some great tracks over my years. You know, I've raced at Spa and the Nürburgring and everything else, but okay, it's 1.5 miles, but it doesn't give anything away to those guys, quite frankly. Lime Rock is easy to learn, but it's very difficult to master. There's a lot of subtleties there. Big Bend, which is relatively flat, you know, that's a turn that you have to really hustle. Come out of that and you go into the left hand, the slowest turn on the track. Then you get to the big challenge, which is the uphill. To go fast in there, you do something that you're taught all of your life not to do, is you turn in early. But you have to trust the fact that when you turn in early, the hill is going to catch you. It's West Bend, it's pretty conventional. And then you go to the downhill or diving turn. A great instructor, Terry Lear, would have always used to say down there, is like, son, you lift in the downhill, 365 days from today, you'll still be dead. I'm continue to be fascinated and challenged and everything. Lime Rock has endured the test of time, but it's a leap in faith.
The most recent round of Season 3 of the Full Send Sims Esports iRacing Spec Miata Championship was contested at one of the most gargantuan venues conceivable, Daytona. From the high banks of its near 3.7-mile track located in that massive bowl, surely the super speedway of road courses, tonight we transition to what is fondly known as road racing's bull ring, Lime Rock Park. While a full 20-minute race at Daytona lasts only a handful of laps, here the lap counts will be more than doubled, and that means twice as many opportunities to go big or go bust. Here, momentum rules, but it's not easy to maintain on this narrow 1.5-mile track, especially with far more cars per mile than anywhere else. Welcome to Round 7, where tonight the Matadors of the Miatas engage in the bullfight to overcome the truly unique challenges of the road racing center of the East. Hi folks, I'm Greg Creamer, and joining me as always is Kyle Heyer. And Kyle, one word that always comes to mind, at least for me, with regards to this venue is exciting.
Oh, they pack so much excitement in this little bull ring, it's hard to believe it, Greg. The first time I saw this racetrack, it just made sense. This is one of the most famous tracks in North American road racing. Despite its small size, it packs a punch, and it's a perfect combination for Spec Miata racing tonight with two 20-minute races. Should be a lot of fun.
It should, and to give you some perspective, folks, about just how much the flow and momentum is here, the fastest lap ever turned up in Mossport, or now Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, by an IMSA GTP car was an average speed of 137 miles an hour, and that track is over 2.5 miles long. In 1993, Juan Fangio II, in one of those amazing All-American Racing Eagle GTP cars, lapped this track at an average speed of 120 miles an hour. That gives you an idea of the momentum, the speed, the flow you have to maintain here. And when we raced here in Season 1, the show that these Spec Miatas here put on was absolutely spectacular, and I'm sure expecting exactly the same.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch tonight. We were on one of the biggest tracks of the season last week at Daytona. Quick look at our season standings, though. Greg, no surprise that Morgan Burkhardt is still leading, but Caleb Patry and Nicholas Rice-Sputo, they're kind of locked in a pretty fierce battle for second, and so is Beans Forster and Jordan Ricks-Segrini, who, by the way, finished second in the real-world Toyota GR Cup Series in Race 1 at Sebring just this past weekend. So a great talent. Glad to have him here with us, but really the top 5 is extremely tight.
Yeah, they are, absolutely. And here's the interesting thing. Before Daytona, Burkhardt had a 22-point lead in the points at that point over Caleb Patry. Now he has a 15-point lead, so a 7 less over Nicholas Rice-Puto, as Patry had a really problematic race at Daytona, weekend at Daytona, and he's back in 5th. Rice-Puto is now 2nd. Forster, and you said in Rickson Green, he tied for 3rd. So there's some churn going on. And this one, Morgan, is finding, I think, this championship to be just a smidge more difficult than the other two, at least to defend, Kyle.
It seems like every season it gets harder to win. And
this is true.
And every season those point gaps get smaller and smaller, and I guess so will the track here this week. Qualifying is underway. We'll head down to the racetrack, and this is a critical part of the evening here, Greg, with how quick the races are and a nearly 30-car field. Qualifying is very important. It's also very hard to get a clean lap in with so much traffic.
Well, that's right. I mean, you think about it, and I said more cars per mile. We have almost 30 cars out there, and it's virtually impossible, especially if you have more roll speed than somebody else, to stay in and have a totally clear lap. So a fast lap here often is just minimizing the loss of momentum, and it isn't easy to do, but that's where having that real racecraft, Kyle, can make a big difference.
Yeah, Josh Soto currently provisional pole sitter at a 59.478. It's a pretty quick lap around here, sub 1 minute. Everything happens very quickly. There's a lot of blind corners as well, heading down the hill or even up the hill. Lots of places to get yourself in trouble, and the curbs on the apexes are quite high, and while they're smooth and you can drive over them, it can often upset the car. And we'll see drivers get all over them tonight just trying to help the car rotate, but they can also be a big trouble spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interesting thing, that turn 5, we heard in that intro, talking about you turn in on faith and have to believe, you turn in a little early believing that the hill's going to catch you. That's exactly what you have to do at Road Atlanta's turn 1. So there's a reference point. The diving turn, though, not many like it, where you plummet down that hill, and the speed down there is just absurd. And if you go off, you lift, you panic lift, you shoot across to the inside. But if you just skate straight off the outside, that too is always difficult to recover from. So a lot of challenges here, Kyle, packed in to 1.5 miles.
I think one of my favorite parts of watching cars drive around this racetrack, or I guess listening to them, is when they come over that uphill, listening to the revs pick up as the car gets lighter, even sometimes leaves the ground. It's such a fun thing to stand, Rice-Puto off at turn 7, to stand next to that uphill and listen to the cars rev up real high as they get light.
Yeah, just spinning it up. And the interesting thing, when they come up over that rise, then they get to West Bend. And West Bend, you look at it on the map, it looks all right, flat, nondescript. But the thing is, if you get something wrong at the entry of West Bend and you run wide and you can't save it, there is the crossover bridge abutment that's just waiting for you there. So there's lots to have to pay attention to here. And if you can find a buddy and be able to work with somebody that can give you that little run on a clear lap, it can pay huge dividends.
And here's Caleb Patry chasing Beans Forster. Beans is only qualified 11th right now, and while that might not sound like a huge deal at a place like Road America, passing opportunities are pretty limited here. You can kind of force things in all sorts of different corners, but really the only, I don't even want to call it easy, but the only natural passing opportunity comes down at the end of that main straightaway.
Yeah, into Big Bend, absolutely. And I was here many years ago, and there was a Trans Am race right after it was repaved the first time. And in the first practice session, Paul Newman was driving in the Trans Am race and went off into that runoff down at Big Bend a number of times. And afterwards, he was asked about it, and he said, well, there was a bump that was my braking point, a bump that was my turn-in point. That's gone. And one of the starters came up with a great line. They said, we've always wondered if we should have a name for the runoff down there. And we think we have it now. It's Newman's Own. They didn't leave that, but now what has been known for years as the No Name Straight is officially now Paul Newman Straight. And this was a place he dearly loved. And shortly before his death, he actually came here, and his team brought his club racing Corvette and helped him in and out of the car and let him just drive a few laps. This place was special to him, and I think that's a wonderful honor. And of course, Sam Posey Straight, just another incredible honor. A couple of legends being acknowledged. Posey designed the pagoda here now. and so involved in this facility for so many years. Set the first sub 1 minute lap here, I believe, as well. So just some quick things to note there. But I was watching Caleb Patry when he was chasing Beans and popped out for that draft. He improved his time a little bit, but it was 46 1,000 short of trying to get around Josh Soto for that pole. And after he had the weekend of the event, the night that he had at Daytona, Kyle, Caleb really needs to rebound with a good run here.
Yeah, I'm noticing one driver missing from the timing and scoring pylon. That's your points leader, Morgan Burkhardt. I don't see him at the moment. And so as far as the points picture heating up as we head to the end of the season, this could be some drama there. Now, we do get a drop round. So that's something to consider that Morgan might be using on this particular event. But in the short term, it's going to make things pretty exciting at the top of the standings.
Yeah, and he had, sometimes we see him come out late and the like, but I seem to recall him mentioning that he may not be able to make it tonight. So that drop round is going to become really huge for him here. And again, opportunity for guys that are like Caleb and others that are backing those points just a little bit to be able to move up. Surprise to me, though, that Beans wasn't able to stick that into the top 10.
Yeah, didn't quite get there. He will start in 11th. We're going to get gridded and go racing for the first of two 20-minute races here tonight. Pretty short pace lap. Things are going to fire off pretty quickly here tonight, Greg, but I think there's definitely some storylines to keep an eye on as far as the points go. We also have onboards from Beans Forster, Camden Hibbett, and Andrew Gilliland. Here's a look at Beans' setup here, and Camden Hibbett, and then Andrew Gilliland joining us as well. Three drivers that will give us some onboard perspectives here this evening.
That's great. And obviously we have to say a quick thank you to Full Send Sims, Cord Schmidt, and all of the work that he has put in creating this series. And of course, remembering that those Full Send Sims are absolutely spectacular. And in virtually every price point, if you just want a basic thing, they can do that. If you want absolute top of the line, they can do that. We also always have to say thanks to Rob Greenwood and Final Turn Motorsports and Frank Rodriguez at 3P Logistics. They are very active at the runoffs right now. As a matter of fact, Noah Harmon is running in both the Spec Miata and the Spec MX5 classes there, and Rob Bailey in the Spec Miata class. And 3P Logistics is there supporting Final Turn, so great partnership there. But here's some great news, Kyle. We have a brand new sponsor to introduce to everybody. It's Wine Country Motorsports, race gear and equipment. And if you're at all familiar with Wine Country, you know at what level they operate. They are something special, and they are the racer's resource for helmets, suits, gloves, shoes, seats, harnesses for over 30 years. They're your one-stop shop for sim racing gear, and now, and this is a cool announcement, they are also a distributor for Full Send Sims, turnkey and custom design simulators. They are the largest combined inventory of premium race car brands in the country. They believe they have the best customer service in the business, and this is something they like to say a lot. For anybody who has a mad thrash because of something, we answer the phone when our internet friends don't. So Wine Country Motorsports, welcome to the Full Send Sims Esports iRacing Spec Miata Championship. And as I wrap that up, pace lap underway.
Yeah, it's a pretty short one here, Greg, so we'll just probably get through the top 15 or so. Joshua Soto starts on the front row. Nice qualifying effort for the number 77. Caleb Patry starts on the outside of that first row.
Absolutely. Nicholas Rice-Puto starts third. Olivier Piatek in fourth.
And in fifth place, he'll be Camden Hibbett, the number 132. Celine Roland rolls off sixth in the number 87.
In the seventh spot, it'll be Eric Haywow in the number 16, and Skip Brock Jr. in the number 32 starts eighth.
In ninth place, Jordan Butler in the number 72, and Dean Dibdahl rolls off 10th in the number 99.
Starting 11th in the 23 is Beans Forrester. In the 12th spot, the number 14 of Jean Reyes.
And 13th place, it's Spencer Conrad in the number 12, and Gianni Morrow in the number 24 starts 14th.
Starting 15th, the number 53 of Trace Hant. 16th, the 00 of Max Bankin.
And in 17th, Seth Spolman in the 042. And Jonathan Murchison, new name here this week, rolls off 18th in the number 25.
Yeah, great to have him with us. In the 19th spot is the number 19 of Christian Rice-Puto. Starting 20th, the 531 of Mike Schmidt.
And Andrew Gilliland rolls off 21st in the number 91. Cord Schmidt starts 22nd, pretty deep in the field for the 172.
Yeah, it is. We'll see what he can do from there. Starting 23rd, the 89 of Jim Friedhofer. Starting 24th, in the number 29, Jose de las Casas.
And Dave Brown, Max Dara in 25th and 26th. Then Rich Green, Wayne Buttermore wrapping up the rest of our field. Time to go racing here from Lime Rock Park, America's Northeastern Racing Bull Ring. Greg, this is going to be fun. 20 minutes, about 21 laps worth of racing coming your way.
Yeah, it's an enduro here, isn't it, with that number of laps compared to the laps we've seen elsewhere. Here we go. Watch for it. We're green. And it looks like a nice start from that outside position for a second there. But now here comes Soto diving down to the inside, but Patrick trying to shut the door and come across the nose. Boy, he couldn't quite do it. Oh, he's sideways. I don't know that he got help. I think he, and now huge contact. He's airborne. Cars everywhere. And that is precisely what Caleb didn't need. We've got other cars now spinning. Jorge Ortiz involved at 042. And the 19 of...
That was Christian Rice-Spudo.
Yes, exactly. So,
wow.
Tough start here, yeah.
Well,
what a shame for Caleb.
We'll go back and look at that again. A little bit more dramas deeper in the field here. Camden Hibbett slowing down, might have cut the track here as Spencer Conrad, Jordan Butler, Dean Dibdahl shift forward, and Celine Roland had 4 tires in the dirt exiting West Bend. It's still 3 wide back here for position just outside just inside the top 10.
And that's the thing with that diving turn. If somebody gets underneath you, if they don't give you enough room, you're... Oh! Now, that seemed a little bit aggressive there. Spencer Conrad sent spinning. That yellow car just, it wasn't intentional, but I think he was trying to make a pass and didn't look in the mirror on the other side and collected him. But nonetheless, yeah, just a crazy start here. And there is Beans, and he still sits in 11th here. Let's go back and check out what happened here. And there you can see, I don't know that Caleb got help. He was trying to shut the door, and then that big contact right there.
Yeah, going back one more time here. Let's see if we can spot exactly how this happened. Goes a long way around here. Soto, oh, that right there.
Maybe, yeah. Just tapped by Rice-Spudo, didn't he?
Yep. And went for a wild tumble. But we jump back live. It's still Joshua Soto leading the way 3 minutes in. Beans Forster heading down pit lane to prepare some damage. This is not the night he needed.
No, not at all. And starting 11th, and it's just gotten worse for him. But right now, Soto has also opened up over a second over Nicholas Rice-Spudo, and obviously got that little bit of a gap when Rice-Spudo and Patrick maybe had that touch there, as we have a look both on board and at Andrew Gilliland right now. Up into the, where is he running right now? He moved
12th.
up smartly, but then dropped back. Yeah, there he is in that 12th spot. So not too bad either, considering he started 21st.
Yeah, really good climb for Gilliland, avoiding the early carnage here at Lime Rock. It can tend to be that way. Not a lot of places to escape. We mentioned that in the pre-race, that there's a lot of blind corners and things, and it's very easy to get wrapped up. It's almost like the Bristol of road racing. There can be something on the other end of the racetrack, and you're there before you can even think.
Yeah, everything just happened so quickly here. And look there from the number 24 of Johnny Morrow having a really good run here. Started 14th up into 5th. And that's Dibdahl right behind him. And both of these guys have really shown some form in the last few races at Daytona, Kyle. You weren't able to call that one. They were really hooked up.
Yeah, looking good so far. Dibdahl and Morrow both up a number of positions. And we're keeping an eye on our race leader, because Rice-Spudo is running him down. Was 2/10 quicker last time by, which means give him 3 or 4 laps, and he could be your race leader if he can get by Soto.
Yeah, and Celine Roland right now is all over the back of Piatek for that last podium spot, as well as Piatek runs wide, and Celine kind of target fixated right with him there. And so they didn't lose anything between each other, but they did drop back just a little bit from Rice-Spudo. And then Dibdahl, he had great position and was able to get underneath Johnny Morrow as they headed into the climbing turn, or the uphill, the last lap.
Yeah, down into turn 1. Dibdahl charges Big Bend. You can really be aggressive on the braking zone here, because you kind of use the scrub through the corner to slow you down for that second later and slower apex. So very aggressive turn in there for the first corner. And then you're kind of floating through here to get set up for the Paul Newman straight as Roland reels in Piatek for the top 3 spot.
Yeah, he is all over the back of him, but that gap now is sort of ballooned to almost a second and a half behind Rice Puto. There's that sound you love. Whew. That was close.
And drivers will use all the racetrack here, plus a little bit. We've seen some pretty big dramas in the past, coming over that crest, being too far left, kind of taking a bad bounce and then ending up in the tire bundles.
Yeah, and the other part of it is if you get way out there and you try and make a save, sometimes the car just snaps on you, and that can create some problems here. Skip Brock under attack from Trace Hance. Trace in that number 53, the blue car with the orange stripes, dives to the inside. Brock trying to out-deep him. Really difficult to do that in this corner. And, you know, this is one of those corners, Big Ben, Kyle. I think it's, you know, it's one of those, if you're by yourself, the fast line, early turn in, let it float out, and then really rotate on the exit to get that drive up into the right hand or the left-hander. But if somebody's right on your 6, you just can't open that door up that much in the middle of that corner, and so it can really pack things up. Yeah,
and going back a little bit further here, there was a pass for position for 3rd place. Celine Roland got by Olivier Piatek. Here's how it happened. A long ways back into turn 1. Sent it down there.
Didn't he? Then he gets really wide there, but somehow was able to get it back to the apex. I think Piatek had inklings of trying to get down to the inside, but the opening just wasn't there. And now we'll see whether Piatek can, Roland can open up a little bit of breathing room, or whether Olivier will just stay in his tracks here.
It almost looked like Piatek had lifted early, maybe to let Roland by and potentially use the 87 to tow him back up to the front runners. But it's just difficult here to really use that strategy because there's not that much straight, not that much drafting really. Just a little bit by the end of the front Sam Posey straight. But elsewhere, you're kind of up to your own devices here.
Right, and Rice Puto has clawed it down now to 0.3 of a second. And Dean Dibdahl, after getting around to Johnny Morrow and slipping into 5th, he has rapidly closed on Roland and Piatek, some of it because of that battling they're doing. So that's going to become a 3-car scrap for 3rd. But right now, Rice Puto, he's there. It's a car length. And let's see what he's going to be able to do. There in the background, you see Dibdahl, the white car with the black hood. Is Rice Puto close enough to do something down into turn 1? Nope, and you want to be a little careful. He ran him down in a hurry, but now you don't want to get to battling and let those guys behind you claw into you, do you?
No, certainly not. Here's Jordan Butler and Trace Hance. That was very tight through turn 1. And Skip Brock Jr. all over the back of this group for 9th place.
Yeah, what a battle. 8th, 9th, and 10th right now for those 3. And you just got to love this close quarters racing. Here's that left-hander, and it really is the only one on this track. And, contact. That's Ortiz, and he gets clipped.
Holy cow.
And, was that Bean Forrester coming back out of the pits, and somebody else got into Ortiz?
Yeah, so this is
Gilliland.
Andrew Gilliland.
Oh, what a shame.
And then turns right back across the road, gets hit by the 22. Rich Green, and then there's Forster.
There it is.
Wow.
Sorry, I thought that was Ortiz with the blue, but yep. Well, it's been an eventful one already here. Lots of cars having to hit the pits here, but this battle at the front is incredibly good. And, you know, it's going to be interesting to see here just how long Nicholas Rice Puto hangs in there. I mean, we've got 11 and a half minutes left. That's a lot of racing at this stage. And if they start battling, it's not going to take long, as we talked about, for those guys to get right there. And Dibdahl now is all over the back of Piatek as well. So everywhere we're looking at this stage, there's some really good battling going on. Camden Hibbett is glued to the back of Johnny Morrow for 6th. So just some good stuff unfolding right now. And here's that turn into Big Bend. Oh, no, excuse me. That was through the West Bend.
Yep, and coming back onto the front straightaway. Rice Puto's got a really good run. Here he comes. He's going to push Josh Soto. Now he's going to look to the right. Had the opportunity to look for the lead. Hasn't done it yet. Cars returning out of pit lane. I think one of them is Beans Forster for the second time tonight. But the lead battle.
Last thing he wants to get to is get clipped again here.
Yeah. Right into traffic. But these two, I mean, Rice Puto had the opportunity to go for the lead, and he didn't take it. So biding his time right now.
Yeah, I think he was more content to maybe just give Josh a little push, try and keep that gap built up. It's right now 3.5 seconds from Raspudo back to Celine Roland. So they're just doing everything they can at this point to break clear. Here's that battle we were talking about. And you can see the number 24 there, Gianni Morrow, and Camden Hibbett is closing up and over the uphill. And here comes West Bend.
Love watching the focus on Camden's face here as the 24 runs way out wide in the grass, 4 tires over the rumbles. And that will set Camden up for a nice launch down here into turn 1. He's got momentum on the 24. Let's see if Morrow defends.
Coming up. Is he going to go for it? He does. Looks to the inside. Braking duel now into Big Bend. Camden sweeps down to the inside. And nice job there. Oh! Morrow thought he had an opening. Kyle looked to do something, but Camden covered it just enough.
Yeah, that was very, very close between their front and rear bumpers, but they made it work and moved Camden Hibbett up into 6th place as the lead battle continues to stay separated by just 0.2 of a second. But this 3-horse race for 3rd place is getting very interesting. Roland, Piatek, and Dibdal.
Yeah, Dibdal came up in a big hurry once he cleared Morrow. So Dibdal, at certain points, he's been the fastest guy on the track. And right now, the last few laps, he's clearly has been lapping a little bit quicker. Ooh, and Piatek running a little wide, and that can we've seen what happens. You can keep it on track, but it does affect that momentum, and that be enough. Might be enough for Dibdal to do what Hibbett did on Morrow when Morrow ran wide, and see if Dibdal's going to think about making that move. And boy, look at how deep on the brakes Piatek got into Big Bend.
Oh, it cost him a little bit mid-corner, though. He slid a bit wide.
Yeah.
And Dibdal's got a pretty good run here into the left-hander, but he didn't have overlap, and you really need to have overlap before you can make a pass into this corner. I've seen it done, but you got to be there by the time you get to the turning point.
Yeah, and you've got to be, much more straight to the apex, while the other guy swings way right to set that corner up. The other guy then can dive right underneath you and go to the apex. But like you said, if you don't have a little overlap to start, it's just not going to happen here. Wow, just saw Gianni Morrow real tail happy up and over the uphill there, and that cost him a little bit more time. Did it again through West Bend, so he's losing time right now. But that's going to free up, obviously, Camden Hibbett to see if he can't just drop the hammer and try and close down on these folks.
Joshua Soto leading the way, but has traffic in the form of Beans Forster here. Forster is a couple of laps down. No, actually, he's on the lead lap somehow. I'm not sure how he's managed to do that with all the contact he's had. But here comes Roland for 3rd place, or Piatek rather, trying to get back by Roland. Couldn't quite make the pass complete.
No, Dibdal's just sitting back there going, do that again, but do it somewhere where I can just jump to the inside right now. And that little bit of exchange, that is going to help Camden Hibbett. And really curious to see what kind of time he turns on this last lap, because he can be a bit quicker than these guys. He's got a lot of room to make up, though, doesn't he, at this stage? Something on the order of 2 seconds, so he's got work to do.
Yeah, his last lap was a 1:06. Well, those ahead of him just a hair quicker. Let's see if this battling has slowed them down. My gut tells me it has. Soto just ran a 1:04, 0.2 for Raspudo, 0.5 for Roland, 0.7 for Piatek. Hibbett was a 0.6 again. So making some ground, but just as Piatek goes down the inside for 3rd.
Nice move by Piatek. He sort of tested the waters on that before, didn't he? And this time got enough of a run and did that straight line to the apex. And the thing is, Kyle, if you do that straight line to the apex, you have to be able to get the car slowed down, because somebody's going to do the over-under if you don't. And Olivier just nailed that pass. That was awesome.
Did a nice job now. Forster splits the difference between Soto and Raspudo, which is not something that Nicholas would enjoy. I think he'd rather be right on the tailpipes of the 77, but he has to dispatch the 23 before he can do that. Runs a little wide through West Bend. Celine Roland's gone around, upside down.
Oh, boy, I'll tell you, this new grass grip thing is really launching cars now. Roland having such a good run. Let's watch it here, Kyle.
Let's see what happens. I have a feeling it was towards the top of the hill. Now, obviously, the grass still in need of some tuning. Before it was too slippery, now it's too grippy. Let's see what happened here. Runs wide, gets into the Armco, across the racetrack, and then into actually, it was the tire bundle that did him in.
Yeah, well, that's that's going to happen. And those tire bundles are great if you do an absolutely straight in or side in, but if you nose in, they do tend to become launching ramps like that. As Court Schmidt working hard to work his way up through the pack here.
Yeah, up to 13th place after starting 22nd, so not a bad night at all, chasing down Jean Reyes in the number 14.
Just balancing on the throttle through that left-hand turn. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Lime Rock, in the real world, these cars, it's sort of a spec setup. Real world cars often will take a page from NASCAR and just do it in reverse. Since there's only one left-hander and they're all rights, they'll literally put some stagger into the car to get it to rotate really well in the left-hand or the right-handers, and just say that left-hander's kind of a throwaway corner. And makes for some pretty interesting moments in the left-hander on occasion. But these guys put on a show. And, you know, this is you're absolutely right for Bryce Budo. You know, we know Beans is quick. He had a problem in qualifying, but right now he is absolutely running this pace. And I believe if Bryce Budo does get a clean run, Beans obviously would let him go, I would think. But it's going to be interesting to see if he can get there. Look at that. The rear tire's literally coming off the ground.
Yeah, it's a lot
over the uphill.
It's just one of the most dynamic racetracks to watch cars go over because the elevation changes and the compressions are so abrupt. But Bryce Budo trying to keep the throttle in it right at the top of the red line here, but just can't build a big enough run to get by the 23. The saving grace is that Forster hasn't let the 77 get away either, though. He's perfectly matching the pace of these top two. Here comes Bryce Budo, though, past the lap traffic. Well, yeah, now lap traffic. Oh, touch.
And a little touch there. Yeah, Bryce Budo desperate to get through, and that knocked Beans a little bit wide, obviously, and now he's able to gather it up again right in front of Jim Friedhofer. But, you know, with all of that unfolding, you know, Bryce Budo right now is going, thank God Beans was fast, because I didn't really lose a thing to Josh Soto at this point.
No, he didn't lose anything, but he is running out of opportunities. Next time by should be about 3 laps to go. And he's got almost half a second to make up, and then he has to figure out how to pass Joshua Soto, something he hasn't been able to do just yet. Both of them wide again, big time wide at a West Bend.
Huge wide, and if that happens, man, just straighten the wheel out. Don't try and do anything. Yeah, but they were as far off the track as you could possibly imagine up there, weren't they?
Yeah, watch this again. Pushes out, and right there, just very, very tight to the tire bundles. But Bryce Budo trying to find some ground, but it was 2/10 slower than Soto last time by.
Yeah, well, he was 2 feet wider in the grass, so that might explain it. Skip Brock under attack now from Jordan Butler. Is Jordan going to throw something down into Big Bend? No, and Butler actually goes in and manages to create a gap under braking. So it tells you that Skip Brock right now getting in there really good on the brakes, but he runs wide. Butler now thought about trying to pinch him, and if he could have got up around the outside, he could have pinched him, and you can, you know, sort of round him up around the outside in that left-hander if you've got position, but just couldn't get there.
Yeah, didn't quite get there, and he'll live to see another day at least. Stays 9th place for now. 2 minutes to go, and we're just wrapping things up in this first race with 2 laps to go for the race leaders, Soto and Bryce Budo. This time Bryce Budo made a little bit of a dent into Soto's advantage, but it's not much. About a 10th and a half better. Oh, yeah. Oh, lots of traffic up the road.
Yep. And, you can see Soto just a little wide of the apex there. And Bryce Budo, as a result, able to close up a couple of car lengths here and then heading into this traffic. And, you know, once you get back into this serpentine, you know, they call it the Paul Newman Straight, no-name straight. It has this right here, this little bob and weave in it, and it makes it really difficult to set up and get a good run into the uphill for a pass.
And the uphill is a challenging place to pass also. It's just so single file through there. If you get double wide, you're just going so slow. It's just big time commitment. And Bryce Budo still eating into that lead though, Greg, with the traffic still on the horizon.
He is coming up a little bit. And, you know, the other part of that, as we heard, in that uphill, you turn in really early, and that really shortens up any kind of an overtaking area. So nice job there, just easing out of the way, class move, and letting these guys come through at this point. So Seth Bowman doing a really, really top-tier job in letting them through. White flag is out, 1 lap to go here in the first of the doubleheader here at Lime Rock Park. And if Nicholas Rice-Puto is going to do anything, at this point, it's going to have to be a major lunge kind of move here, as Trace Hance does just that down into Big Bend and gets around Gianni Morrow for 6th.
Yeah, that was a well-timed pass at the right moment on the final lap. Rice-Puto has it down to 3/10, but he needed to find it a bit more, I think. You're kind of out of opportunities once you get to West Bend. You got one little attempt out of the final corner and a drag race to the line, but that requires a lot of circumstantial situations to get yourself set up.
It really does, and yeah, he's just not close enough, and he needs a big mistake from Soto, and Soto may have just, oh man, he got that curb and it skated him wide, but he stays on track. Joshua Soto winning the first of the 2 races over Nicholas Rice-Puto, and this battling going on behind everybody here. Look at this. Between Skip Rock and Price, they are just having an having a fierce battle. And behind them, surprising him maybe, is Mike Schmidt. He's going to get one. Does he get them both? No. What a run through the downhill diving turn for Mike Schmidt. Started 20th and ends up in 10th.
That was a fun one to watch here, Greg. Before the session ticks over, here's a look at your race results. Soto, Rice-Puto, Piatek, Tibdal, and Hibbett, your top 5. And then Mike Schmidt stealing 9th place away from Butler in the final moments.
Yeah, just an incredible run there. And obviously, Gianni Morrow was up a lot farther to the front. Just looked like he was off a smidge in pace. And here you see the rest of the field, and Kurt Schmidt, after starting a little bit deeper in the pack than usual, was able to get to 13th, right behind Jean Reyes, Max Dara, and then Spencer Conrad rounding out the top 15. Heads up Seth Spoolman in 16th. Beans struggling back there in 17th. And, you know, he came in here tied for 3rd in the points, Beans did. That's not what he needed. And in Burkhardt's absent, Kyle Rice-Puto, even though it was 2nd with Josh Soto back in 9th, that could be big.
It certainly could be big, Greg. Well, race 1 is complete. We have race 2 left to go. And then we start to kind of whittle the championship down. We're getting down to the final couple of weeks. And our race schedule has us coming to Lime Rock Park this week, of course. But next week, we head to one of my favorite racetracks, my home track, Watkins Glen, on the short course before we head to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta and Sebring's short club course to finish out the season.
Yeah, and you thought this track was a high-speed momentum run. That Watkins Glen Cup course is all high-speed momentum there. And we do want to remind everybody that this coming Thursday, we are doing a driver school. Full Send Sims has one of their great driver schools set up Thursday night on that Watkins Glen track. So if you haven't driven it or you just struggle on it, great opportunity to take that school and then keep that in your back pocket, because next Tuesday night, that's where we'll be. And we also want to remind everybody, as always, great opportunities for schools and the one-on-ones too. They do a great job with their one-on-one training. All you have to do is go to fullsendsims.com and you can schedule that right up. So take advantage of that. Do want to remind everybody that the Full Send Sims mobile sim unit is available for rental anywhere in Florida for any type of event. It's great for small gatherings, any kind of event, or even personal use. It's at tracks an awful lot, but also you can just sign it up, have it come down, and spend some time at some get-together you're having. The rental includes full setup in their air-conditioned sim trailer with 2 sims, unlimited use of both of those sims, top 10 lap time leaderboard displayed, live external video feed of sims and drivers. So lots to do there. And again, we just want to say a very, very big welcome joining our sponsors, and so grateful to have them. Wine Country Motorsports stepping up and becoming a presenting sponsor along with 3P Logistics and Final Turn Motorsport. So absolutely fantastic. Big thank you to everybody involved with that. So, I'll tell you, that's, I think, a sign, Kyle, that the series is getting some great recognition. Kyle, Court, and Full Send Sims just really doing a great job promoting it, and it's drawing other sponsors in now. That's lovely, lovely to see.
It really is, and at all levels, motorsports requires partners and people to make it happen, whether it's real motorsport or virtual motorsport, and a huge appreciative moment for all the partners and people that make things happen. here. Now, not here this evening. Speaking of real motorsports, Jordan Rick Segrini, Greg, got a chance to meet him and his mother and his sister at Sebring International Raceway last weekend. Jordan is currently competing in the Toyota GR Cup North America and got his first podium, a second place in race number 1, and got a great chance to call that action the other day, and that was just really rewarding to meet Jordan and also to see him on track with his relatively little real-world experience, but I guess going on again, considering the sim training he gets and the ability to drive that Toyota GR Cup car in iRacing, I think that's contributed in a lot of ways to his early success.
Well, it speaks volumes about just how effective these sims are as real-world training. Yeah, they can be fun, and you can do these championships, but they are instrumental in that real-world training. And the use of sims has been around in different settings for a while, and it's the last few years it's really getting recognition here, because you can have somebody a couple thousand miles apart. Your coach could be on the other side of the country, but you could schedule time and they can coach you on the sim, and it's just been fantastic. And we do want to say, just to make sure, if you're going to be at the runoffs or if you're going to be watching the runoffs broadcast, when it comes time for the Spec Miata and the Spec MX-5 classes running, make sure to cheer on Noah Harmon in both of them and Rob Bailey in the Spec Miata class, running for Final Turn Motorsports with support from 3P Logistics. So that's really cool that that's happening there for him.
Yeah, all exciting stuff. And the runoffs, I wish I could be down there, but I'll be in Willow Springs this weekend. But that's at Virginia International Raceway. We were there with this series a couple of weeks ago, just one of my favorite racetracks in North America, and what a privilege it is to drive it in the simulator as well. Just get a little taste of the speed that track has to offer.
Right, and this time of year, that part of the country, the colors are usually just gorgeous. So hopefully that will all come into play. And you know what? We haven't done this a little bit, so let's remind everybody, first through third in the championship will receive trophies. But first place in the championship will also win a Fanatec DD2 25 Newton meter direct drive wheelbase. Second place will get a Fanatec V3 inverted load cell pedal set. Third place will get a choice of a Fanatec Club Sport H-pattern sequential shifter or a 2-year iRacing paid subscription. But here's the caveat. If you're just outside of that top 3, don't give up, because no of the Full Send Sims administrators or instructors are eligible for the hardware prizes. They'll get trophies, but not hardware. And if you've already won one in a calendar year, you are not eligible to win another one. So you could be out of that top 3, maybe even out of that top 5, and still have a shot at some of that great hardware. So keep chasing it, folks, and it could pay off with some really, really nice hardware from the folks at Full Send Sims and our great group of sponsors.
Yeah, the prizes keep working their way down the order. So
That's true.
If I was a betting man and wasn't broadcasting this, I'd be racing, because that means that that stuff is coming my way, even if I'm 15th. So,
all right,
which is probably where I would be. All right.
Well, I know you're not a betting man, but as the field heads off for this second race, what's your feeling? What's going to happen in this one here?
Well, I'm hoping that we get through the first lap without an incident again, just with that kind of first corner up front sort of spin. That is always a recipe for disaster here, especially in such a long corner. Now remember that a lot of drivers here are on a single monitor, which means that you can't see much beyond a certain angle through a turn. So you come out of the turn, all of a sudden there's cars everywhere. That's less of a concern if you're on a triple surround setup on a full Sims rig or a virtual reality setup, but a lot of people don't have the ability to look all the way through a long corner like that. So just hoping that we can get through the first opening corners without too much drama. And Caleb Patry, I'll be watching him trying to rebound from that poor showing in race 1. He'll be starting 20th and has a long way to go.
Yeah, he's got speed, there's no question, but as I said, it's tough to keep that momentum alive, which you absolutely need to be able to get runs here when you've got a track full of cars here and a short track at that. So everybody lining up and getting ready to go after it. Race 2, heading up and over the uphill. A chance to take a quick peek one more time at this turn, and this is West Bend, and as I said, it's flat, but if you get it wrong on the exit, we've seen some people run wide. If you really get it wrong, that guardrail and those tire barriers come right back at you. So every corner on this track has some pretty significant challenges, and our pace car comes down the hill, and Soto on pole. Bryce Puto up on the outside this time. That'll have Piatek and Dibdal. Everybody hungry for this win. Wait for it. Wait for it. Coming down Sam Posey straight. We're green. Race 2 is underway. Really even start up at the front. And let's see now if Piatek is going to come in. Look at that move by Trace Hans, trying to find a little bit of open opportunity here. Oh, little wide run there by the number 19 of Christian Rice-Budo, but so far so good. Let's keep 3 abreast back there. There's contact. Somebody's sliding, but they managed to get it saved. That was the 91 of Andrew Gilliland. He already has been on his roof here. He does not need more of that. But, boy, I'll tell you, Trace Hans, what an opportunistic jump for him right up into that 4th spot.
Yeah, really aggressive start there. There was a couple cars that tangled in the very background off to driver's left entering turn 1, but otherwise we've made it through the opening couple of corners. Here's the 11 of Max Dara. He's on the outside of Christian Rice-Budo. Both these drivers didn't have the greatest race one. Neither did Andrew Gilliland, who goes up the inside at West Bend and takes 22nd away.
Yeah, and Buttermore, you could see him coming close on that as well. The big loser in this exchange is Olivier Piatek, who started 3rd. And right now, Kyle, you can see him in that green, white, and black car there. He is back in that 7th spot. So he's going to be ruining everything that happened here. And look at this, Camden Hibbett alongside of Trace Hans. And that is going to put him on the wrong spot. But there's that overlap. Can he stay there? Does he have enough to make that right-hand run onto Paul Newman? He gets the curb. They touch. That gets Hans wide, Kyle. Nice save by Hans.
I was going to say, I thought for sure Hans was going to end up in the left side tire bundles. It does leave him vulnerable to Gianni Morrow, though, who goes up the inside. And Piatek, with an opportunistic move, follows Morrow through. Hans is off to the left in the grass.
Yeah, I think he was just trying to open the wheel up, and it kind of snuck away from him. Unfortunately, that let Jordan Butler through. Oh, but we got a couple of them were on their roofs.
And Beans Forster again.
Oh, no.
This has just been a night to forget.
See what happens here.
16 gets into him, Eric Hewo, and wow, that was an impact.
Got the guardrail and collected Spolman. What a tough night for the Beans, man.
Yeah, this will be a night to forget. One of those drop rounds almost certainly for Forster, and that'll be the frustrating end. By the way, Nicholas Rice-Budo, where did he come from? The leader now, and here's Dean Dibdal.
Yeah, Dibdal is really looking strong here. He was looking mighty stout at Daytona and has just stuck with these guys here. But yeah, Rice-Budo found a gap and was able to get through, and that, as we've said, is a lot easier said than done here. So Rice-Budo working some magic out there.
Yeah, doing a really good job tonight. Typically a very aggressive driver, and tonight it's paid off for him here at a track where you have to be aggressive to get things done. If you're tentative or you hesitate to make any moves, you're just not going to go forward here.
Yeah, indecisive does just not work at this track, does it? At all here.
You have to just commit big time.
Absolutely. And Camden Hibbett, I'm watching his times here. He's about 7/10 off of this trio up front. And he's got clear track, nobody pressuring him. So if he could just dig deep, he might be able to glom onto them here. But he's going to have to string some really good laps together here. And what he's hoping, of course, is that Soto tries to get back in the lead and they get a little side-by-side, slow this trio up and let him come in. And Piatek has forced his way now up into that 5th spot. So we knew he had speed, Kyle. We'll see if that green Miata's got any answers here, but it's a pretty big chunk of change for him to make up.
Yeah, it's not a huge chunk of change if the leaders start to fight.
Right.
If you go very slowly around this racetrack when you're side by side, but if they're single file and they play the game, it'll be tricky for anybody to catch this front group here. As the first 4 minutes are elapsed, we're going to go 3 abreast here as Soto goes to the outside of Rice-Budo for the top spot.
Well, we see a driver do what Rice-Budo did there, and that's go way to the inside to defend. That usually means he thinks he made a little mistake and lost some momentum. And look at that, Soto trapped on the outside. Dibdal thinking about it, and exactly what you were talking about, Kyle. Look at Camden Hibbett. He might end up 3rd in this exchange.
Immediately, and he will not quite take it away, but he made up about a half a second in one corner just from those two battling through Big Bend. It's just something about this racetrack. The corners are very long. There's not a ton of grip offline. It's just a very single file racetrack. So if you get put offline, you're going slowly and you're vulnerable to those behind.
And that's going to also give Piatek a little bit of an opportunity to make up some time possibly as well. But now we got a 4-car battle here, and for the lead, and traffic going to come up here in probably a lap or two at this stage. There comes Court, and looking to see who that next car would be. I think that's Jim Friedhofer. And oh, look at this!
Whoa!
All of them side by side. It was like a pace lap as they came into the turn here. And Camden got through on Dibdal.
He did, so put Camden Hibbett up to 3rd place. Meanwhile, behind them, Jordan Butler, Johnny Morrow trading positions. John Reyes in the number 14. Oh, the 72 is way wide. They're going to make contact here into the right-hander. That's going to be big damage on Reyes' car.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. He's slowing down here, and you can see Trace Hance doing whatever he could now for Trace. Oh, now that's Patry trying to fight his way up, and he's going to be able to stay with it. And here we go once again. Soto trying to sweep the outside. Rice Puto trying to keep him behind, and Soto back into the lead. So it is now Soto, Rice Puto, Hibbett, and Dibdal. Look at this, around the outside in the uphill, Kyle.
What an impressive drive. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that. On the outside through the uphill and through West Bend, and made the pass. Josh Soto's got a very strong package here tonight. 13 minutes to go. Soto, Rice Puto, Hibbett, and Dibdal, your top 4. And Piatek is closing quickly.
Yeah, I think package might be really unusually apropos.
Yeah, maybe 2 on the nose there.
Yeah, big package making that move for sure. And here we go onto the Paul Newman straight once again, and that exchange is bringing Piatek right back in. He was about 1.5 seconds off last lap, and that's now down to 0.8. So he is streaming some really good speed here, drawing away from Morrow. And then look at that train behind Morrow. Butler, Hance, Skip Brock in that group as well. And Patry now has cracked the top 10 from 20th. That is one good race because he's done it, Kyle, in only 7 minutes.
Yeah, and this is a very important night for him to capitalize on Morgan Burkhardt not being here. Morgan will treat this as a drop round, but that means that everyone else who picks up points will have an advantage when Morgan drops this. So you want to fully capitalize on the absence of the points leader, and that involves driving as far forward as you can in the next 13 minutes.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical for him, and he's about to catch Skip Brock, Patry is, and then he's literally going to be in that battle here. And I'll tell you, we have seen Rice Puto show the nose a couple of times since Soto got to the front, but he just has never been quite far enough to be able to just make something happen here. But he's certainly serving notice that any kind of a glitch by Joshua Soto, Rice Puto is there.
Yeah, they're going to pounce on him like an angry cat here in the last 12 minutes. As soon as he makes a mistake, it's going to be pretty wild. And Rice Puto played the game earlier. I wonder how willing he is to do that now. Soto goes defensive. Rice Puto chases him, now looks to the left, and Hibbett's going to be watching, ready to pick up the scraps.
Yep, and like I said, you can see that, Soto made that little bit of a mistake up at the top of the hill. And a touch there. And that was interesting because it's tough to tell, but I thought Rice Puto maybe turned in a titch soon. And look who's snuck through, Camden Hibbett, Mr. Opportunistic in this race.
Up to 2nd place. Now can he keep pace with or pass Joshua Soto? Meanwhile, looks like Trace Hance, Morrow, and now Patry are going to do battle here. A little bit of race car wars, a little bit deeper in the field at the bottom half of the top 10.
Yeah, Patry snuck through on Skip Brock. That puts him now up into 9th. Brock now back into 10th. And now he's in full attack mode on Trace Hance. Interesting to see if he can get, you can see Trace really dabbing those brakes. And I think Patry is thinking right now, just get that really good run out of here. That little bounce is going to upset Trace a little bit. Oh, what happened there? That was Johnny Morrow, wasn't it?
Yeah, it came to pit lane.
Oh, boy.
But that was an abrupt decision, and he's gone. So don't know what that was all about.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, and Camden Hibbett now trying to get back in, get into that toe of Joshua Soto. And Soto just threw down a really good lap, a couple of tenths quicker than Hibbett. So that's what's giving him this little margin. And then there's Friedhofer up in front. So they're going to be catching some traffic again in relatively short order.
Yeah, I wonder if they continue to lose time, if Hibbett will relinquish second place back to Rice-Budo, because it seems like that 0-3 of Rice-Budo can keep pace with Soto. So maybe you're going to put your strongest horse out front to try to run down that leader and at least create some volatility here in the last 10 minutes.
That's a good point, and that's part of that chess match that we always talk about, this high-speed chess match, is sometimes if you just don't have, we know Camden can be opportunistic, but if you just don't have the car to chase down the guy in front, the guy behind you was able to stay with him easily earlier, let him through and then draft. And there we go. That was a nice move again by Caleb Patry. Decisive, what we were talking about, just forced his way through, said, I got to get to the front. That's good for 6. Great pass, as that has motivated him right up into 6. Now, though, he's almost 4 seconds off of Piatek in 5th.
Yeah, has some work to do, that's for sure. Soto's got some traffic to contend with. Friedhofer pulls off to the right.
What a job by Jim.
Yeah, very gentlemanly thing to do, and a good spot on the racetrack as well. Hibbett trying to keep pace with Soto. Last time by, though, still a 10th off, and is now about 4/10 back.
Boy, we're seeing really good evidence of what you talked about earlier, Kyle, that you can use these curbs, but they do climb significantly. And if you get, middle to the outside or the far inside edge of the curb, it can really unload the car. And Nicholas Rice-Budo just unloaded a run down the hill, didn't he?
Yeah.
And drafted right through on Hibbett.
And actually closed the gap immediately. So he passed Hibbett and closed the gap up to Soto all in one go. And
that was partially, I would think, just that toe getting by Hibbett and then just got in nice and deep without losing any roll speed into Big Bend. That was impressive.
It really was. And I also think going back to Big Bend, like I said earlier, you can kind of throw the car in there a lot harder than you think you can, because you can use the scrub of the front tires to bleed off a little extra speed. In a longer race, that would certainly deteriorate your front tires, but in a 20-minute race, not a huge deal. You can go for it. Oh, Rice-Budo's going to be way out wide right to the Armco, but he stays in it. Throttle down to the floor, and he's right over Soto's rear bumper through the last corner.
Holy cow, look at Hibbett getting a heck of a run. I think that may have been a little touch, and it loosened up Soto. And that's going to give Hibbett an opportunity around the outside. Soto is going to go in really deep, but Hibbett turned in and realized he had a head of steam, almost clocked Rice-Budo. He checked up, and just that quick, Soto's right back through. Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. Going back through, if we can go back a little further here to catch this run onto the front straight. Let's ride on board, perhaps, with Rice-Budo. Yeah, just the slightest of touches there that sent Soto for a bit of a ride.
Yeah, and I wonder if Soto was actually thinking of making that big move to the right to try and break the draft, and at the same time, as you said, Rice-Budo just tapped him and it loosened him up. Oh, now it is Soto running wide. And I wonder now, honestly, if Nicholas Rice-Budo, he ran so wide there, never lifted, and it actually gave him one heck of a run down the downhill.
Yeah.
You wonder if he's going to look at that as a possible move here. He's way down to the inside now, down into Big Bend. Boy, he is really worried about an overtake. And Hibbett, touch there, and Soto gets loosened up. Yeah, Dibdall goes right through as well. Suddenly, Soto's 4th, Kyle.
Yeah, that was not the direction that Soto needed to go with 6.5 minutes remaining. It has been physical up here in this race, to say the least.
Really is. And Piatek with Patry. Patry has run down Piatek, Kyle. He's made up over 2 seconds. So he could still be in potentially for a top 5, which would be a stunning drive. But this one's not done yet here.
Yeah, back from 20th place to 5th in a 20-minute race at Lime Rock. It's very impressive. Rice-Budo 4 tires off. They really need to make the Rumbles more aggressive out there.
They really do, because the last couple of times Rice-Budo's run wide like that, he's actually carried really good speed, and it almost opens up your turn in a little bit. Up at the top, opens that radius up just a smidge, and that can give you a little bit more roll speed. But again, you got to be willing to step that far out there. I was talking about using those curves, and like I said, if you get up, and there was a move, Jordan Butler on Skip Brock, and Skip left the door open. Jordan thought he could slide through right as Skip started to turn in, and there's a tap and go as well.
Whoop. And Hewa was gone. I'm not sure if that was internet related or what, but he's gone missing. Back up front, though, 5 minutes to go. And Ricebuto and Hibbett are now the ones dogfighting for this top spot. It has been a bare-knuckle brawl up here at the front.
It really has. And there you see Ricebuto. I think he likes that wide run through there now. He's staying off of that inside curb in West Bend because we've seen it unsettled cars, and he's running wide, but now he ran wide at the bottom. That's going to cost him momentum. And Camden Hibbett, at this point, Camden says, yeah, no, I don't want to pass you at this stage. I'd rather, get a little gap going here. And let's Ricebuto hang on to the lead. Somebody off up front. Hopefully they're aware cars are coming.
That's Court Schmidt.
Court.
Nice job staying very far left.
4.5 minutes to go here. That's what, 30 laps?
Yeah, sometimes it feels like that for sure.
It sure does. Lots of laps in this short track here. But boy, this has been an absolute wonderful battle, hasn't it?
It really has, and they've gone back and forth a couple of times. A few different lead changes in this race, but Camden Hibbett is now setting up for that final chess move. At this point, you're thinking a couple laps ahead, not necessarily what's happening right now.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's just trying to be super smooth, not scrub any speed right now. Oh, and Trace Hance, you can see smoke in the background. Something happened back there. This is Skip Brock behind Trace into the uphill. Uh-oh, Trace is wide.
Yeah, and got Skip Brock Jr. involved in it as well. Both of them go off.
Well, and that's the thing. We were hearing you obviously turn in early for the uphill as we watch another replay of it. But there is such a thing as either turning in a little too early or turning in just a little bit with too much speed. And that's what happens here. And boy, I'll tell you, for Camden Hibbett, this is good news, isn't it? That Dibdal is logged on to the back of Josh Soto and is kind of occupying him a bit here.
Yeah, but if Soto catches this front group, does he have a score to settle? He got shuffled out of the way by both those drivers. I think he might have a bit of a withdrawal to make out of the bank for the lead here.
The old chrome horn, maybe, how you're talking.
Yes. They're not chrome on the Miata. They're
no.
But point
figuratively
taken.
speaking, yes. Down the hill we go, and this time Ricebuto moves over, trying to break the draft a little bit. Hibbett goes right with him. Then Hibbett swings up wide here, and that sort of forces Ricebuto. You talked about chucking it in down here. And if you have to do that a number of times, if that radius into Big Bend is tightened up, you can really start to torture those fronts a bit. Yeah,
you can absolutely torture them, and you're not worried about wear so much as you are heat in a 20-minute race. It just gets pretty overheated to slide them around that much. Hibbett's right on the tailpipes of Ricebuto. Almost did what Ricebuto did to Soto, where he kind of grabbed that rear bumper and slid it across. That sent that 77 for a ride.
Here's that turn in. There's that key uphill run. And Ricebuto is right now the guy that's going to benefit huge from Burkhardt's absence if he could stay up and win this. Even a podium, any place in the podium, but a win coming in here in second spot, only 15 points back. This is a huge opportunity. He's going to go up there. You see it. You can see the defense once again a little bit by Ricebuto, and this time Josh Soto goes way to the outside. He wants to try and turn in and get underneath these guys. And a great job there of Hibbett by sort of sensing that and defending. And look at this. Caleb Patry through on Olivier Piatek. There's that fifth spot. What a drive by Caleb.
And with time to spare. I'm not sure he'll do 3.8 seconds in the next lap or two, but we could see some tears up front that might give him another spot or three as the front four work their way down the Paul Newman straight. And next time by will be white flag. So now you got that chess move. When are you gonna move the pieces?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And are you gonna help move some pieces off the board, if you catch my drift? And again, Patry hits that curb way wide. Down the hill he goes. Hibbett. See what kind of momentum he can make. Everybody in that group at the front. Looks like Dibdal has just dropped off a little bit. Here comes Hibbett. Is this his time? And you got to be careful there because Soto is going to try and do something, but Hibbett trying to go in really deep, trying to do the outside move, and instead he's opened the door potentially for Soto. You can see Hibbett pinching him just a little bit. Oh, so close. But it gives him that spot at least back as they head in to the left-hander, and that brought Dibdal right into the back of this queue as well.
Oh, he had to keep his foot in it here, a little bit wide at the exit of the right-hander. Last time down the backstretch, and Camden Hibbett is within 2/10 of winning this race. Right behind him, Josh Soto. Oh, a little wide there for Rice Sputo, almost off track.
Yeah, lifted the rears and it damn near snapped on him. Now watch this turn in here. Rice Sputo really clouched that curve a lot more than Camden does. They're way off. Down the hill we go, but Rice Sputo, I swear, he has liked that move because I think he feels it gives him a little bit of roll speed down to the bottom. Here we are to the line. How close do you like it, folks? And it is Rice Sputo, and waiting for it to clear 51 thousandths of a second to Camden Hibbett, then Soto, then Dibdahl, and Caleb Patry rounding up the top 5, and still battling going on here. Andrew Gilliland, after going airborne last race, trying to lock in a spot here in the top 10, gets through on Max Bankin and ends up in 9th. He'll take that for sure.
How do you like that? 61 thousandths of a second is the margin of victory. That was excellent there, and especially clean and good job to Joshua Soto, who had the opportunity to knock Hibbett out of the way, and they raced about as clean as you could expect.
Yeah, he had not only the opportunity, but potentially the motivation.
Yes.
And he really just raced really clean, and that was a very respectful drive by Josh. So, yeah, congratulations, a good podium run. And again, Dean Dibdahl just so on form here in these last few races. Great to see him up, getting a 4th spot in this one. And then what do you say about Caleb Patry? I mean, comes in here after losing 2nd spot in the points, dropping to 5th. Now finishes with Rickson Greeny absent, with Burkhardt absent, with Beans Forster struggling. That 5th place, that could be huge for him in the points come season's end.
Certainly could. Here's a look at your race 2 results. Rice Sputo wins it. Hibbett 2nd, then Soto, Dibdahl, Patry, the rest of your top 5. Jordan Butler managed a 7th on that one. Spencer Conrad, we didn't really talk about him at all tonight, but snuck in there for a top 10. So did Gilliland and Bankin in the final moments, Greg.
Yeah, Conrad got gathered up in that first race melee and dropped way back, but fought his way up. How about Wayne Buttermore? Good run for Wayne up into 12th. Love to see that. And there you can see Beans struggling a little bit. Mike Schmidt had a great run in that first race. Little problem there. Jose de las Casas into that top 18. And then Rich Green, Skip Brock not able to complete the race. And so unfortunate for them. Skip, too, is 8th in the points, having a good season. And with Soto ending up in 3rd here and having a good run in that first race, came in here in 9th. He could be maybe knocking on the door of a top 5 here as we take a look at the rest of the field. Yeah. A lot of attrition, but you'd expect that at a bull ring.
Oh, we had lots of attrition, but also lots of great action. Let's talk with one of the drivers that ended up on the podium. It was Olivier Piatek, 3rd in race number 1. Olivier, tonight was, I described it as a bare-knuckle brawl at times. Take us through your drive in the number 62 tonight.
Yeah, I mean, race 1, I had a all right start, and then just this really small net good contact knocked off my front right, and it just kind of affected me the whole race. Just had no real pace. I worked with some people, and we were just match leaders, but I got 3rd and then just kept it on track, didn't wreck. In race 2, I just got shoved off lap 1, went down to 7th, and it's just so hard recovering out of the toe. You just can't do anything about it when a track's like this, just an oval pretty much.
Yeah, and it was a shame because you had a great starting spot, and as you said, you just got squeezed right off the track. But once again, you showed that you had some really, really stout pace here, and you ended up at the end there getting into an interesting battle with Caleb Patry as well. So you were this race, as they say, you were definitely in the wars.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really in battle with Patry. I just let him go, and I was 1 incident point away from getting a drive-through, so I just kind of rambled around in the back right there, didn't tire. So, yeah, I got 2 X's from lap 1, so that really just made it even worse because no matter how hard I pushed, I was on the limit from getting a drive-through, which is not very fun.
No, not at all. Well, and so that, obviously you managed, a tough scenario as well as you could. And that's part of the game, part of this racing game and accruing points. So that's some good racecraft, man.
Thank you.
All right, Olivier Piatek, 3rd in race 1 and 6th in race number 2. We'll talk to you next week.
Yep, see you.
All right, let's move on now to Camden Hibbett. He fought and dueled with Nicholas Rice Sputo and Joshua Soto there in that one. Camden, that was a fun one to watch. A lot of scrapping and back and forth in that race. Take us through your perspective of especially race number 2.
Yeah, race one was not the greatest race for me. I think got a ton of damage from the start, and then I overdrove at the third to last corner. I don't know what corner number it is. Put it in the wall at the left side and gave me a little bit more damage. So yeah, race one was a off race for me. I feel like made a couple mistakes that kind of set me back. But yeah, race two was a absolute. It was crazy. Super fun racing with Nick and Josh, and Dean was in there as well. I told Nick I was kind of playing defense for him there the whole race until the last lap, and then I was kind of just seeing if he would give me the line and I could get a run, then I would go for it. But if I didn't, it was either gonna be me or Nick winning. That was my goal. So, but yeah, awesome racing, lots of drafting, and yeah, really fun tonight.
Huge fun to call for us, and I know for the folks that are watching, I'm sure they enjoyed it. It was interesting to me that going through West Bend, the second to the last turn, we would see Nicholas really eat that curb a bit on the inside, and it pitched him off. I mean, we're seeing a replay of it here, off into the grass, and it actually seemed like it opened his radius up a little bit and gave him a good run down the hill. Were you seeing that?
Yeah, I was not close on incident points. I had 4x. I think it was a ghost 4x from the start. I don't remember ever hitting anybody. But I had a couple off tracks prior to, not on purpose. But so I was a little bit close on incident points. So I was just saving it, and I was kind of hoping on the last lap that Nick would do the same thing he was doing, only a little bit too much, and have to lift. So that's why I was just trying to be a little bit conservative and just maintain the gap through West Bend, I think is what it's called. And he ended up not going wide enough. Actually, I think it helped him more that he went wide. But yeah, I thought about it. These curbs are really weird. You have to hit them a certain way to make sure the car doesn't bounce over them instead of just riding over them. And I didn't have enough practice with riding that curb.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I wasn't really comfortable with how to enter on that curb without making the car jump. Kind of like what I was doing the corner before that, coming up over the hill. The farther in you can get earlier, the less it'll make the car jump. And I had time to figure that out. Didn't have time to play around with that corner a little bit. So yeah, I think it definitely worked in Nick's favor though.
I do too, but one thing that it was pretty obvious to me that you were bobbing and weaving behind him. I mean, there were times you were just drafting, but you were always trying to present something moving in his mirrors, just doing anything you could to just get him to make that little mistake.
Yeah, I think it's more of especially with these cars, we're so tight, and not only these cars, but this track, we were all, I think the top 5 qualified within 0.2, something like that. It was super tight tonight. I think if the starts would have been a little bit less chaotic, especially in race one, I think it would have been a little bit of a bigger lead pack. But these cars, especially when you're this tight with the draft, it's more of it turns into a mind game a little bit on who's gonna not make the mistake, and who's gonna play the better chess match in the final 5 minutes. So it's all a mind game, and it turns into less of you slow yourself down a lot. My brain slows down a lot, and you slow down on pace, because especially when you have those 4 or 5 second gaps to the next pack, you're not worried about those cars catching you as much in the final 5 minutes. You're worried about you're worried about planning 2 laps ahead to prep your next move. So it's definitely a mind game, definitely some moving around in his mirror to try and get him not only to maybe think that I was gonna mess around with him in a one a couple times, but also trying to show some signals of, hey, I'm gonna push you. Hey, this lap I'm not gonna be so nice, and I'm gonna go. It's all a mind game. It's that's part of the reason why I think these cars are so fun to drive, and why it makes for such great racing at the end.
Well, that it does, and I love that you also call it a chess match, because like on a chessboard, you're playing moves and moves ahead, and you mentioned it, doing it laps ahead here to to set up an opportunity. Just a joy to watch you play that game, bud.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely fun to play the game, as you said. So, thank you guys for the broadcast. It's always great. I always go back and watch them. So yeah, congrats to Nick too. I'm glad he got one this season. So, I know he's been struggling. I know he's reminded me multiple times of VIR. So I figured I'd try and help return the favor for him. So awesome racing tonight.
Well, and you did, and just well done, man.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Camden. Move on now to Joshua Soto, who earlier in tonight won the first race and came home on the podium in race number 2, Josh. So as far as points go, tonight was a really good night, but this last race kind of slipped through your fingers just a touch. Take us through your perspective and what might you could have done different to sneak back up there for the win.
It probably would have been just car positioning. Maybe more, been more careful to not make mistakes, and just probably would have played a little bit smarter in that the last one to try to maintain the position. But I think that it was pretty good in the position.
Well, that first race, it certainly was. I mean, you just controlled that one absolutely beautifully. But, usually we see in these second races that, the frantic level, if you will, goes up just a little bit. And, everybody's really getting after it. And, it looked like there were just a couple of times where you just sort of found yourself in the wrong spot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it gets really challenging, especially going into turn 1. Like, I just haven't figured that out, how to, sometimes you can get it run or around the outside if you get a good angle. I think I'm not sure, but I think Rice Buddha might have done it. But yeah, sometimes you get a good run around the outside, and then they'll set it up for the following turn. But yeah, I just couldn't get that angle, and ended up making a mistake.
Yeah, and obviously, if you have a mistake in Big Bend, it's such a long corner. You're just, carrying that deficit for a little while, but fought back really well. And I'm delighted, with all the speed you've shown us for you to bag a win in that first race. You have worked hard to get that, and well done, man. Just always fun to watch you drive.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Josh. We'll see you next week.
All right. See you.
All right. We got one more driver we're going to talk to. That's Nicholas Rice-Puto, who won the final race of the evening. And a long time coming. It was aggressive out there. Lots of pushing and shoving. And when it came down to it, though, you were able to kind of cycle yourself to the front at the right time. How'd you get this one done tonight with pressure from Camden and Josh?
I'm not sure. A lot of luck. It was good. I knew I wanted to be in the lead on the last lap because it's extremely hard to pass here. So I knew if I was in the lead, I'd have a good chance.
Well, and I've got to ask you here because, and I'm sorry if I'm giving away a secret you figured out at this track, but you seem to like to turn in a little earlier into West Bend, run all the way off the track onto the grass, but you get yourself straightened out before that happens. And it looks like it gives you actually a little better angle and a faster run down through the diving turn.
Those are not on purpose, but
is that right? Well,
yeah,
they sure seem to work for you, man.
Yeah, if you clip that curb, it'll send you into the grass. So you just have to stay flat. If you lift, you'll crash. So you have to stay flat, and you don't really lose anything. Or in your case, you gain some time.
Well, that's what it looked like, because there were a few times when you did that, and as you turned in and went down the hill, by the time you got to the exit and tracked out, you had actually pulled about a car length on Camden or Josh, whoever was behind you at those times. And then, kept doing it. So I thought, I think he's found something here.
Yeah, you only have so many off tracks to work with. But yeah, I guess I'll have to save that in the back pocket for next time we're here.
Well, it was entertaining to watch. And, the four of you, once Dean Dibdahl got up there and joined you, you guys, just watching you guys play strategy out there was fascinating.
Yeah, the second race was much cleaner than the first race. I'm not sure what happened the first race with the lap traffic. I don't know why some people were sitting in between the leaders, but we figured it out after.
Yeah, you did, and you guys still made it work really well. So, that was fun. But got to say here, you came in here, 15 points off of Morgan. He's not here. Beans and Rickson Greeny tied for third. Beans had a tough day. Jordan not here. Caleb Patry didn't have a great day. This is huge for you in terms of the points, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. How many rounds do we have left? 2 more.
There you go. 3 more.
3 more. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So well done. Congratulations.
All right, thanks, Greg.
All right.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Nicholas. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
All right, Greg, wrapping things up here from Lime Rock Park. Man, I love this racetrack. Always puts on a show, and we've got more great shows coming up, including next week at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, and I mean, we, such a glorious track, and then, running the Cup course, which is huge momentum, obviously. It is going to be a blast and huge drafting opportunity on that one as well. And, this was a chess match. That's going to be one at even higher, more sustained high-speed runs. I think that's going to be absolutely incredible. And let's remind everybody, Watkins Glen this Thursday night, the driver's school. And it's free to members. If you're not a member, you can pay and be a part of it. So if you need a little bit of experience there, take that opportunity. As always, massive thank you and shout out to Court Schmidt and Full Send Sims for their title sponsorship of this series and just their envisioning and creating this, as well as building some absolutely stunning sims. And of course, to our long-term presenting sponsors, Final Turn Motorsports, 3P Logistics. Say hi to them if you're watching from the runoffs. They've got guys running down there, Noah Harmon and Bob Bailey, so check that out. And again, a big welcome to Wine Country Motorsports. Absolutely a top-tier racer's resource for anything you can think of in terms of gear. So for that, and now a new distributor for Full Send Sims as well. So huge thanks to those sponsors. Kyle, as always, an absolute pleasure. And just want to say thank you for all the fun, folks. Remember, Thursday night, the school at the Glen, and next race, Watkins Glen, the short course, coming up next Tuesday night. Till then, folks, take care of yourselves. We'll see you then.